We are going to ESOMAR here, and it's about self-regulation code. How response of ESOMAR stuff? If you have of us in sometimes as has told me that and we self-regulate market glad to today with this fireside talk, two friends talking about this topic. Vinay Ahuja leads the Insights and Analytics practice at Procter & Gamble Europe. And for more than 30 years, he has dedicated himself to understanding consumers, working across countries and cultures to sharpen his expertise. A true champion of our industry, he has also been an active partner with ESOMAR for nearly 25 years. He is the recent co-author of the new ICC ESOMAR Code and has a member of the ESOMAR's Professional Standards Committee. He has been instrumental to provide us his support on many guidelines, as well as the different people here from the Professional Standards Committee, one of our committees in the ESOMAR that we craft and guidelines and so on. So, with no further ado, we will start our presentation, our talk. And first of all, I would like to talk about self-regulation. Self-regulation as a concept that is very, very clear, and it's a true benefit for us. I want to remind that self-regulation has many, many, many benefits. Also, in history, and you know I like history, in history it has been proved that all those sectors that have only been following greed or benefit with no self-regulation have ended badly. If we look at different breaks in the economy in the 20th century and 21st century, it's when a lack of self-regulation, or in the pharmaceutical business, or in social media, or in the oil business, lack of self-regulation has created big crashes for the whole society, and then legislators must come to regulate, and very harshly regulate, because they want to avoid this harm created by lack of self-regulation. Self-regulation has many benefits. Has the benefit of being flexible and responsive to the proper needs of the industry and the sector, because it's a specialist creating this regulation. More practical, more cost efficient, because there is not this cost or when there is this discrepancies and you don't need to embark on legal and lawyers and so on. Reputation, credibility and trust. Industries like ours, when we behave properly, when we have our own self-regulation, we gain credibility in front of the legislator, regulator, and our potential clients. It's easier to resolve disputes and prevent over-regulation when harm is done. So these are some of the benefits of being a self-regulated industry. And ESOMAR has been partnering with one of the champions of self-regulation, which is the International Chamber of Commerce since 1976. And this is crucial for us as a profession because it elevates our reach. International Chamber of Commerce is conformed by more than 40 million companies, and they have all this self-regulation on different verticals, such as advertising, communication, advertising, publicity, which is also, well, our big sibling, if we can say it like that. And we are partnering with them, and actually, this revision of the International Chamber of Commerce ESOMAR Code is currently put as an example among the International Chamber of Commerce different verticals, as an example of collaboration with an industry, as an example of how they can work together to work with specialists and have this code of ethics for the profession. So our industry, insights, marketing, market research, we are now an example for those institutions. And I would like to give space to the International Chamber of Commerce, to Andrew Wilson, Deputy Secretary General and Director of the Global Policy Department, to talk about the importance of this partnership we have with them and highlight their view on self-regulation. So, Andrew, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to join you today for the launch of the revised 5th ICC ESOMAR International Code on Market Opinion and Social Research and Data Analytics. This, to be sure, is a significant milestone for our organizations, the global research community, and ultimately for everyone who believes in the power of ethical standards to build trust and drive progress. As Deputy Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, I have the privilege of representing an institution that, for over a century, has worked to create a fair, open, and responsible global business environment. ICC's mission is simple in many ways, but also ambitious: to secure peace and prosperity through business by supporting companies of all sizes, setting international standards, and promoting ethical conduct worldwide. Our partnership with ESOMAR is a shining example of this mission in action. As many of you will know, since 1976, ICC and ESOMAR have joined forces to provide a single, internationally recognized framework for market, opinion, and social research. This collaboration is undoubtedly built on shared values: integrity, transparency, and a deep commitment to the highest ethical standards. Over the years, our joint ICC ESOMAR Code has become the global reference point for responsible research and data analytics. It's now endorsed by more than 60 research associations around the world, and it has, to be sure, helped shape the way in which our industry operates, always with the public interest at heart. From our perspective, the ICC ESOMAR Code is much more than a set of rules. It's a living benchmark for self-regulation, one that has guided researchers, analysts, and organizations for nearly 5 decades. In today's world, where data is more abundant and powerful than ever, and where technology is evolving at an unprecedented pace, the need for trust, responsibility, and ethical conduct has never been greater. This new edition stands alongside our own ICC Advertising and Marketing Communications Code, first published in 1937 and now in its 11th edition. Over the decades, our codes have set the gold standard for responsible business, adapting to new challenges, whether that's the rise of digital marketing, the use of artificial intelligence, or the growing importance of sustainability and inclusion. Our approach is always the same: to provide clear, practical guidance that helps businesses of all sizes act responsibly and build trust with the public. The ICC codes are used by self-regulatory organizations, large brands, small businesses, and even governments as a foundation for ethical practice. Self-regulation is at the heart of what we do as an organization, and it's a collaborative effort, one where industry, experts, and stakeholders voluntarily agree to uphold shared standards. This approach not only complements legal requirements, but also goes further, fostering a culture of decency, fairness, and above all, accountability. It is this spirit of collective responsibility that has made the ICC ESOMAR Code the reference point for so many organizations and so many people worldwide. By working together, we can ensure that research and data analytics continue to serve society, support innovation, and protect the rights and interests of individuals everywhere. With this latest revision, we are reaffirming our commitment to supporting the research and insights community as it navigates new frontiers. We are proud to offer a joint code that is robust, relevant, and forward-looking, one that will help ensure our industry remains trusted and prepared for the future. As we launch this revised ICC ESOMAR Code, I want to thank everyone in the ESOMAR Congress community for your commitment to ethical standards and collaboration across our industry. I hope the revised code will be a genuinely valuable resource in your work, and I wish you all the very best on behalf of ICC for a successful and inspiring Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. And before Vinay explains what is the revision of the code, I would like to thank, sorry if a slide can be moved. Yeah, the national. Yeah, this night I would like to thank the team that has made this code possible. Some of their members are here in this room, so thank you so much for being co-authors of this revision, together with the community, because there has been a number of consultations, and we have been grasping the interest and what was needed to review. So, Vinay, could you please revision bin?
Well, Joachim, first of all, thank you for that very generous introduction you gave for me, but it's a real privilege for me to share this stage with you, because I represent here this entire team and all the contributors who have helped shape this code, and I hope I can, on our collective behalf, give you just a quick 10-minute introduction to what is this code revision all about. But I'll start by saying this. Our industry rests on one thing, above all, that is trust. Trust that the public places in us, who share the data with us. Trust that clients like myself have in the insights that we get from the research industry, and trust that society places in us, that what we deliver is the truth. And because without the trust, there is no research. Without the trust, there is no insights industry. And this code has always been our compass. It's been giving us a shared license to operate, a license to operate across countries, across borders. It's the only global currency that we have that's universally transversal. And in a world that is increasingly getting multipolar, and the world that is changing so fast, I think it's important to reflect on why this code needed revision. So, like, what was the world back then? Last time this code was updated was in 2016, so almost a decade ago. So I want to maybe briefly give you highlights of what has changed since then that merited the change in the first place. So if you think about the big global shift, I would say 3 seismic shifts have happened since then. Okay, first is, I don't need to spell that out, but this thing starts with AI. If you haven't heard it enough, I mean, it's everywhere, right? AI, ML, generative AI, synthetic data, synthetic personas, we can recite them in our sleep, right? What was once experimental is now mainstream. Automation is reshaping how we sample, how data is analyzed, how we report, right? So enough about that, no more, right? But second, there's a very fragmented ecosystem now, what we call disintermediation in the industry. Clients are now researchers, platforms are collecting their own data. Responsibility has become scattered, but accountability still needs to be there with everyone, right? So take a look at what the industry was something like, about 10 years ago. Clients were handing over in a more or less linear fashion to a one-stop research shop. And then you entrusted the research agency to do all these activities for you, and you got back the report. What has happened in the last 10 years? This is no longer what's representing our industry. Today, clients are researchers, thanks to all the DIY or self-serve tools. And then, sampling is happening by third-party sources, multiple data sources. Privacy has become very important, is the starting point of consideration. That was not the case a decade ago. Analytics is, now a big, strong part of our work. I could go on and on, but everything that could be, I would say, outsourced, outfarmed has now been given out. Everything in the value chain is disintermediated. So that's why the code had to change. We had to change it so we could protect our industry, to respond to these changes, and to lead from the front, right? So what are the other changes? We talked about these two. But third, I would say trust is really under pressure. In a world where there's so much misinformation, I think it's very important for us to work hard to restore it and build the foundations for the next 10 years in the industry, because people are asking, what can I believe? Nobody trusts the numbers that are put in front of you, right? So I think it's fundamentally important that we take a look and say, how does this industry respond to an otherwise skeptical world around us, right? And that's why I think it's so important that the code had to evolve, and this whole team worked on it, which has lasted over a year. And I'm very glad we've got to a point where the ICC has approved it. So let me tell you what's really, the big changes in the code, right? There are a lot of changes, but I would say the biggest changes, there are 3, right? First is the AI is now formally in the code. So it's not science fiction, it's not coming soon. This is now addressed head-on in the code, and how to deal with AI. It's actually spelled out very clearly, right? Second, I would say duty of care 2.0. And the code now makes it very crystal clear that every participant has a right to say no, right? This is even when we are dealing with secondary data. So this is about respect. No means no, right? You've heard that before. Now that's part of our code as well, right? Third, shared responsibility. That's a game changer in the context of all that disintermediation. So no longer can we as a client say, oh, I didn't know what the supplier was doing. And suppliers can't shrug it off and saying, a client told me to do something, or the subcontractor that I offered the job to did something wrong. No, the accountability has to be central, and it has to be shared. It cannot be outsourced. I would say those are the three big shifts, Joachim, and the rest are all important, but that brings us to the heart of then, so what are the articles in the code that have really changed? And I want to just highlight three of them, right? First is fit for purpose. What does that mean? Quality, relevance, honesty. If you're doing research, this must reflect the participants who it is designed to serve, right? And we must be upfront about the blind spots. We can't go around doing stuff that doesn't represent what we are trying to do. It happens, unfortunately, far too often. Second one, publishing in the age of AI, right? Disclosure is not optional. If AI or synthetic is used, it must be declared. We can't have a survey result published without knowing where half the respondents were synthetic. That's not on anymore, right? And human oversight, the extent of that has to be quite transparent as well, right? Third one, I would say privacy and protection upgraded, right? This is against defending in a world where there is AI-triggered re-identification, cyber attacks, large data breaches. So we have put in place enhanced protection for all participants and notifications to authorities if that happens. So 3 articles, 3 messages. Research must be real, disclosure must be honest, and protection must be relentless. That's it. Those are the key highlights of the code. Thank you, Joachim.
Excellent, Vinay. Excellent and very well summarized. And I was asking this question, that this topic sometimes is perceived as the boring one, and when it's exactly the core of we must do, because it's the way we protect and safeguard our profession. And I would like to get your opinion on why self-regulation is so relevant for all players in this industry. And so what could you say in order to break this idea, break down and make it remove from our mindset that this is boring stuff, and we all should be engaged with this sort of discussions?
That's a great question, Joachim. I truly believe that the code and self-regulation really safeguards our trust, right? This is what is going to secure the foundation of our industry. Because without that trust, there is no research industry. So I'd like to say 3 call for actions for everyone in the room. Everyone who's in the industry. 3 things everyone must do. First, I would say commit to transparency, right? Always disclose AI. Always disclose AI. It's not in the order, but it's here, the second one, right? Disclose AI, I say that first because this is the buzzword, right? Always be honest about the limits. Transparency is the foundation of trust. That's number 1. Second, I would say, take that shared responsibility. Take that shared responsibility, because whether you're a client, you're a researcher, or a platform, or you've been subcontracted part of that work, everyone is accountable, right? That's important because responsibility cannot be outsourced. And finally, I would say protection of people relentlessly. Protect people relentlessly, because willingness to participate by the public is our lifeblood. We cannot lose that. We have to protect the vulnerable children, but also respecting the privacy. Honor the right to say no. I think if we do all these 3 things in the industry, just these 3 things, I think the code will come to life, will not just stay on paper, and we can be assured of a healthy industry which will continue to prosper for all of us in the decade ahead. Thank you.
Vinay. I would like just before closing to say 2 things. One is that the code, without its enforcement through self-regulatory disciplinary processes, is not 100%. So this is why ESOMAR, we have reviewed the code, and now we are reviewing the disciplinary processes attached to the code that are going to be approved or presented to resolution to be approved by members in the next general meeting we are going to have on the 9th of October. So the code must be attached with the disciplinary rules by which people can really enforce the code. This is one thing. And I would like to close this slot we were in Brussels in February. Some of the members of the Professional Standards Committee and Legal Affairs Committee of ESOMAR, we visited Brussels. We had an event in Brussels to link and bridge the social and opinion researchers with the legislators and everything attached to legislators and lobbyists and so on. It was a success. It's an event that we invented, and we call it Inside Citizen Summit, and we're going to repeat next year. And there, of course, we got in touch with the Commission of European Union. We got in touch with all this institutional body. And I took this quote from the former European Union Commissioner for Justice called Didier Reinders. And in the meeting, I remember I was impressed by his quote saying, "Legislation alone cannot solve all our problems. Let me reaffirm that I see both regulatory and self-regulatory instruments as complementary to each other." It means that our public officers, politicians, also see self-regulation is the tool that helps all as a society to really function ideally. So let's talk about self-regulation. Let's talk about the code. It's not a boring matter. It's essentially the core of what we do, because if we fail on that aspect, we will fail in all the rest. So let's take it seriously, and I invite you to read the code and to read the legal procedures, the disciplinary procedures that are attached to the code, and be the apostles of this conversation in our companies and with our colleagues.
Free copy of the code here.
Free copy of the code. Download.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much, Vinay.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And